Hey guys, welcome to Get Busy Watching. I'm your host, Honest Dan. Let's talk movies. Top Gun. I've got a cringeworthy review out about it, so let me just give you the cliff notes. I like the movie. Not as much as most do, I gave it a 4 out of 5, but I genuinely like it and recommend any and everyone to check it out if you haven't seen it already. It's just 80s as hell, making a lot of it outdated, but for the most part, it holds up extremely well.
You can be my wingman anytime.
Bullshit. You can be mine.
Fast forward to today, and Maverick has certainly had its ups and downs during its production. Technically, the sequel was announced as far back as 2010. 12 damn years ago. Of course, Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer were slated to return, as well as OG director Tony Scott. A draft of the screenplay was completed, but tragically, Tony Scott passed away and pre-production was put on hold. The new director of the film became Joseph Kosinski, who had previously done Tron Legacy, Oblivion, also starring Tom Cruise, and my personal favorite film of his, Only the Brave, which also co-starred Miles Teller and Jennifer Connelly. Fantastic film, by the way, was one of my top 10 of 2017. Anyway, the film was finished and set to be released in 2019. It was postponed. First, because of shooting complex action scenes. And then, everyone's favorite virus hit the world. That delayed the film all the way until 2022. Well, thank God it's finally out. Took me long enough to see it and even longer to review it. But here we are anyway. I've been hearing extraordinarily positive things about it, so I've been dying to see it, and now I'm dying to talk about it. So let's get to it. This is my honest opinion of Top Gun Maverick. Set 30 years after the events of the first film, Captain Pete Maverick Mitchell, played by Tom Cruise, gets in trouble with the higher-ups after he gives an unsanctioned demonstration of a new jet. Though his superiors intended to discharge him, he's instead sent back to the Top Gun Flight Academy to help train some of the best airmen for an upcoming mission. Turns out that a foreign country is setting up an unsanctioned uranium refinery a little too close to American shores. To make matters more complicated for Maverick, one of the trainees is Lieutenant Bradley Rooster Bradshaw, played by Miles Teller, the son of Maverick's now-deceased best friend and flight partner who died 30 years before, and the young man holds a grudge against the veteran pilot. Damn. I went in with some pretty high expectations, but I was not prepared for how well and effectively they would blaze right through them. This was a good-ass movie. Let's start with the positives. The practical effects. In a damn tidal wave of CG-riddled movies that have come out over the years, it is so hard to come by movies that do practical effects and do them this well. These are real fighter planes flying around, pulling off extraordinary stunts.
They went and flew aerobatics to feel what it's like in a jet.
It's the speed. Wow.
From there, they'd graduate to the F-18 Super Hornet and actually launching off an aircraft carrier.
That's our talking about.
If there is CG anywhere, I didn't notice it, or it was subtle as hell. It's such an experience to know that what you're watching on screen, it's actually happening. Those are real planes that you can reach out and touch. It's really there. Look, I love CG. It takes us to worlds that we can only imagine, gives us something that no science or practical effects can ever give. But when you see something that would be CG by any other company, it really changes the game. It's really real here. That's something truly special and worthy of recognition. As for the acting, yeah, it's phenomenal across the board. Tom Cruise, yeah, is just playing himself, but he's doing it in a way that really works to his advantage. To make no mistake, I'm no fan of Cruz as a person. He's a nut job.
I've never seen you like that! Have you ever felt this way before?
And an egotistical weirdo.
Being a Scientologist, when you drive past an accident, it's not like anyone else. as you drive past, you know you have to do something about it because you know you're the only one that can really help.
But on the real, he's one of the very few actors where I can effectively separate the artist from the art. As a filmmaker, he's one of the best. He does his own action scenes and can get away with it because he's the damn producer, and no one says no to the damn producer. And those action scenes are nuts! From hanging around on the side of the Burj Khalifa to this movie's plane stunts, the man deserves respect on those grounds alone, especially at his age. He comes in with energy. He seems like he knows what he's talking about as Maverick, and his character isn't dramatically different from his younger self. He definitely flexes and maintains his cocky attitude as he shows the younger pilots his skills and how they're nowhere near his level as he trains them. But he genuinely cares about making them better for their mission and have them work as a team, pushing them to their limits. Oh man, and I absolutely love how they handled Val Kilmer's appearance. It's handled with such tenderness that it was hard not to get emotional. Never mind how Iceman is sick and it's hard for him to talk, only doing so when he wants his point hammered home, trying to get through to Maverick to let go of his past guilt. But it's Kilmer himself, who had fought throat cancer in 2015 and beat it like a champ as of 2020. You know his appearance is more than just a tribute to a solid character from the original film, but is a love letter to the man himself. Though I'm not sure how I feel about the digital recreation of his voice. It just feels disrespectful to not keep him typing on the computer. He can't actually talk, so to do a mock version of his voice feels wrong somehow. I understand that it's something of a technological achievement. I won't dare trivialize the hard work Semantic put in. And Kilmer himself doesn't seem to have a problem with it, so to be offended on his behalf is not my place. So I will simply look at it for what it is. A man who is pushing the limits of his health to help his friend. It's likely something Kilmer would do for Cruz anyway, so I'll keep that in mind. I could go on and on about the new characters, but I want to keep the review flowing. But I will talk about some of the standouts. Miles Teller and Glenn Powell are definitely the ones that stood out the most to me. Glenn Powell obviously being the next-gen Iceman. Jennifer Connelly is always a fantastic talent. You'll never see me complain about her being in a movie. Ed Harris, John Hamm. Geez, I didn't even realize that Manny Jacinto was in this. I don't know how I missed that.
I think we might be in an alien zoo or on a prank show.
No, Jean, you were dead.
Whoa, that's a dope prank. Gotta give it up.
But no one's talent is squandered. So let's talk about the story. Thankfully, it's not a copy and paste of the previous film, with just a bunch of trainees pitting their egos against each other, only for a random climactic dogfight. Nope, the movie makes it well known that there's going to be a battle scene in the third act, and the entire plot is preparing these already talented pilots to just be as good as Maverick. Essentially, a foreign country, I legit don't remember if one was specified, is setting up an illegal uranium enrichment plant, and the team has to traverse a canyon, a la the trench run from Star Wars, to avoid surface-to-air missiles, and have to do it in under 3 minutes, going faster than their old jets can go. Hit a small-ass target, and get the hell out of the canyon, pulling a maneuver that just might render them unconscious. Oh, and also avoiding enemy fighters that are more modern and have better weapons. And the cherry on top, they only have one shot at taking the thing down.
That's impossible, even for a computer. But it's not impossible.
That's the stakes, and the danger of the mission is well built up, especially given how much time Maverick has to get these pilots into shape. 3 weeks to be exact. And of course, they're hotheads, they're cocky, and they don't get along in the slightest, which is just as detrimental to the mission as incompetent flying. How Maverick whips them into shape and humbles them is nothing short of satisfying. I did a little bit of research and I found out that there actually is a little bit of special effects going on. Just not in the way that you might think. To my understanding, which admittedly might be very limited, a lot of the scenes are just using one fighter plane used in a single shot. Like they're using a single fighter plane over and over and kind of copy and pasting that onto a single frame. Type of thing, you know? The dogfights are obviously CG. I mean, maybe not the planes themselves, but certainly having actual bullets and missiles flying by, that would just be stupid. Anyway, I just wanted to polish up that previous statement that I made. There is CG, it's just really subtle. And thank God for what they accomplished, as the only movie that had a canyon run even remotely close to this level intensity hasn't been achieved since Star Wars in 1977, and that was green screen work mixed with miniatures. Okay, so the story is rock solid. The characters and the acting is superb. Ain't a damn thing you can do to convince me otherwise. So, let's get into that conversation. Do I have any grievances against the flick? Not especially, just small ones. They're borderline nitpicks, so you can take them with a grain of salt if you absolutely adore this movie. But they're there. Let's start with the smaller issue and kind of work our way up to the bigger one. I didn't necessarily agree with how Rooster was written. Let me be clear, this is by far my favorite role that Teller has done. I mean, it's hard to beat his unforgettable performance in Fan 4 Stick.
So you like music? Is that kind of like your thing?
But he was great in this. That's not the problem. My problem is his antagonism toward Maverick, blaming him for his father's death. This doesn't make sense to me. Even in the original, Maverick had his day in court, and he was cleared of all charges. Goose's death was ruled an accident, and even Meg Ryan's character didn't blame Maverick. With all that going on, how did Rooster grow up despising Maverick? The dropped charges, his own loving mother telling him that it wasn't Maverick's fault. It just didn't add up to me. And we do have a secondary reason for Rooster to hate Maverick, and that was when he pulled Rooster's papers to prevent him from flying, setting his career back years or something to that effect. That makes much more sense to me, since it was admitted that Rooster's mom didn't want him to fly, and Maverick was only honoring the promise he made to her before she died that he would prevent it however possible. What gets me is that this isn't something that Rooster seems to know, and could have been resolved with a simple conversation. That's what should have been leaned on. And now for my biggest issue, the hotshot nature of these pilots. I know, that's a weird-ass complaint to have, but hear me out. In the first movie, it made more sense. Essentially, it was all dick measuring. The pilots were training to see who was the best. Their clashing egos and self-absorbed attitudes is practically the whole point of the movie. But here, the pilots aren't training for a glorified blue ribbon. They're training for a mission that, if failed, will give a foreign country nuclear weapons and do whatever they want with them. Literally, lives are at stake. So why do you have Hangman over here smiling his shit-eating smile when he's getting briefed? Why are these egos clashing? Would you trust these pilots to save your life if they seemed more interested in one-upping each other rather than taking their training seriously? I don't know, this felt really out of place this time. Despite my issues, this is a must-see in theaters. It's raking in some insane success, and it's not hard to see why. It's a damn fine action flick that honors the original, but still does its own thing. It ain't perfect in my eyes, but where it counts and where you expect it to be good, it's excellent. So, if you still have a need for speed, I recommend checking this out. My honest rating for Top Gun Maverick, a strong 4 out of 5.
Your kind is headed for extinction.
Maybe so, sir. But not today.
Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Stay safe and healthy out there. Hope to see you soon. Before I let you go, I wanted to let you know that I do have a Twitter now. Consider following me there, link in the description.